Let's begin our show with Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, a region long marred by political and social unrest. Recent weeks have seen an alarming escalation in violence and turmoil. The unrest began with clashes between demonstrators and Pakistani security forces, resulting in casualties and injuries. The protesters, voicing their grievances over economic hardships, especially rampant inflation and frequent power outages, marched through the streets demanding relief measures and increased autonomy. Let's delve into the details in our report.
In Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, recent weeks have been marked by significant turmoil. Daily life has been severely disrupted due to the violent suppression of protests by Pakistani security forces. Reports indicate that 3 protesters were killed and several injured when paramilitary troops opened fire. Additionally, a police officer lost his life during the clashes. Thousands attended funeral prayers for victims of clashes in Muzaffarabad PoJK. The situation only began to stabilize after the Jammu-Kashmir Joint Awami Action Committee, a coalition of civil rights groups, ended their demonstrations. This decision followed Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif's approval of an 86 million grant to address some of the protesters' demands, including subsidies on flour and electricity. These protests, among the largest seen in recent years, were fueled by widespread dissatisfaction with the Pakistani government's handling of basic amenities. High electricity tariffs, cuts in wheat subsidies, and a lack of development sparked the unrest.
रियासत जो एक बांध की तरह होती है तो अपने अवाम को जो सहूलियात देनी चाहिए, ना कि उन्हें फोर्स के जरिए, डंडे के जरिए, दफ़ा 140 लगा के जो है दबाया जाए.
Tensions peaked on May 11 when Pakistani police arrested local leaders preemptively to thwart a planned march to Muzaffarabad, a regional capital. This heavy-handed approach, coupled with pre-existing grievances, turned the demonstrators into a full-blown crisis, drawing renewed attention to the long-standing grievances over the colonial and imperial policies imposed by Pakistan in the region.
Buying electricity from us at the rate of 2 rupees and a few paisas and taking all of our electricity to Pakistan's national electricity grid, and then they were selling it back to us at different rates between 30 to 60 rupees per unit. How can that be justified? So, on the 9th of May, the Pakistani forces had already entered PoJK and Punjab Constabulary, Frontier Constabulary, and that aggravated the situation. People became very angry and took it as a direct insult to their national pride and started to say that this is an invasion by Pakistan. Then on the 9th, arrests started to take place of the leaders of the Long March. And that was the last, point of no return.
Despite the resolution, the violent clashes and the brutal use of force by security forces have left a deep scar on the community. The brutal suppression of protests, including the firing of live ammunition, tear gas shelling, and reports of torture, highlight severe human rights violations. Last year, a similar shutdown strike occurred, echoing demands for fair electricity pricing aligned with the production costs of hydel power in PoJK. Once again, despite prior negotiations and a subsequent government notification in February, grievances persisted, leading to the decision to stage a long march in protest against unmet commitments.
First movement in the history of PoJK that has had an appeal across every section of society. It surpassed the barriers of tribal affiliations, of religion, of political, tendencies. People became one. Ekjut ho gaye log. And they said that nothing doing this time. We cannot afford to pay, we will not pay. And so the boycott electricity bill kicked off in August 2023. And people said we're not paying any bills. So they stopped paying bills, and then they started burning the electricity bills in public. Protests began, sit-ins began, but the government would not listen.
People in PoJK have realized that after illegal occupation of the Jammu and Kashmir territories in 1947, when the princely state acceded to India, Pakistan has exploited them to the worst possible limits. Here, people face not only economic hardships, but also political marginalization, especially under projects like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The discontent brewing in these regions reflects a deeper yearning for autonomy and genuine presentation. As more people speak out, they are calling for change that goes beyond borders, echoing a universal wish for justice and dignity. Pakistan finds itself at a crossroads, forced to confront the reality of its policies and the aspirations of the people it claims to represent.